This happened back in 2011 when I was a junior in high school. It was an ordinary day. The weather was pleasant, the hallways echoed with laughter, chatter, and footsteps. Nothing seemed unusual, but I had no idea that an ordinary day would burn itself into my memory like a scar that still hasn't faded. We were sitting in English class. It was the last few weeks of the school year, and our teacher had assigned us to work on our final projects. For that, we needed the school's laptop carts. There was just one problem. The library was closed that week for maintenance, and those laptop carts were always kept in the back room of the library. The teacher looked around the class and asked, "Who wants to go grab a laptop cart from the library?" Everyone hesitated. Nobody wanted to leave. I raised my hand quickly, not because I was eager, but because I also wanted an excuse to go to the bathroom. It seemed like the perfect opportunity. "All right," the teacher said. "You can go." I left the classroom, used the bathroom first, and then headed straight for the library. When I pushed the library doors open, a strange stillness swallowed me. The place was pitch dark. All the lights were off. The silence was so deep that even the sound of my own footsteps felt unnaturally loud. Thin beams of daylight leaked through the high windows, stretching across the floor, painting long shadows of chairs and tables. The air smelled faintly of dust and wood polish. I knew the carts were always stored in the back room. That room had a wide glass window that opened into the main hall. When I reached it and peered inside, all I saw was darkness. I tried the handle. Locked. I sighed. Should I just go back and tell the teacher? That's when I heard it. Click! 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 The sound froze me. It was coming from the direction of one of the study rooms. The door to that room was slightly open. Beyond it, nothing but blackness. But I could swear someone was standing there. My heart started pounding. Slowly, I pushed the door wider. "Hello? Is someone in there?" My voice shook. No response. Only that soft, rhythmic click. Click. Like someone pressing a switch over and over. I thought maybe it was some electrical issue. Gathering courage, I stepped inside. The air felt heavier, colder. My skin prickled. It took my eyes a few seconds to adjust to the dark. And then I saw it, in the far corner. A figure. It looked human, but it wasn't. It was tall, unnaturally thin, with limbs too long to be right. Its head was tilted, shrouded in shadow, like it was veiled in fog. I almost screamed, but the sound stuck in my throat. And then, it moved. Not like a person walking. More like a wave of mist drifting closer. My legs reacted before my brain did. I stumbled backward, grabbed the door, and bolted out into the hallway. Mrs. Karp appears. I nearly collided with someone. It was Miss Karp, the school librarian. Her sudden appearance startled me more than anything. "What are you doing here?" she asked, narrowing her eyes. My chest was heaving. There's someone in that study room." She gave me a puzzled smile, like I had cracked a joke. "No one's here. The library is closed." "I swear I saw them!" Standing there in the dark. Her smile faded, and for a split second, her eyes hardened. She said quietly, almost too calmly, "The cart. I'll take care of it. Go back to class." Something in her tone unsettled me. It wasn't dismissal. It was almost like she knew, but she wasn't going to admit it. I returned to class and told no one. But that night, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the shadow. The elongated figure cloaked in darkness, inching toward me. Over the next several nights, the dreams continued. Sometimes I saw it standing in the corner of the study room. Sometimes peering from behind the glass. Sometimes right behind me. The fear wouldn't let me go. One day, I gathered enough courage to casually ask Miss Karp, "Do you ever feel like something strange happens in the library?" She immediately looked away. "You should get such thoughts out of your head. There's nothing there, just your imagination." But her voice trembled, and that told me more than her words ever could. Weeks passed. I tried to push it aside, but then whispers started circulating among students. Someone said a student had died in that very study room years ago. Some claimed it was a suicide. Others said it was an accident. No one agreed on the details, but everyone agreed on one thing. Since then, strange things happened in that library. I had never believed in rumors, but after what I saw, how could I not? Near the end of the year, I was once again sent to fetch a laptop cart. My stomach sank the moment I heard the teacher say it, but I told myself, this time, nothing will happen. It's all in my head. I pushed open the library doors. Silence greeted me just as before. As I walked toward the back, the air grew heavy again. When I reached the window of the study room, I forced myself to look inside, and there it was, the shadow, standing perfectly still. This time it didn't move. It simply waited, and for the first time, I saw its face, or what should have been a face. No eyes, just two hollow pits. No mouth, just an empty, gaping void. I couldn't breathe. My legs turned to stone. Then, with every ounce of strength, I let out a strangled scream, slammed the door shut, and sprinted down the hall like my life depended on it. That was the last time I ever set foot in that library. Even now, years have passed since then. I've graduated, moved on, built a new life, but the memory still clings to me. Sometimes, in dreams, I'm back there. The dim hallways, the silent study room, and it's always waiting. Only now. It doesn't stay in the library. Now it follows me. Into my home. Into my room. It stands by my bed in the dark, silent, unmoving, watching, waiting. It was back in 2012 when I was attending a small commuter college in Delaware. My schedule was strange. Classes started around 3 p.m. I'd have 2 back-to-back lectures, then a 2-hour gap before my final class, which ended around 9 at night. That last class was always in the basement of the business hall. The basement only had 2 classrooms. One was mine, and the other was almost always locked. It was a place hardly anyone went. Most of the time, it was just me down there, killing time. I'd sit with my homework, play games on my phone, or just scroll through random videos. To be honest, back then, I was pretty antisocial. I didn't make friends easily. Sitting alone felt more natural than trying to blend in. One evening, something unusual happened. I had forgotten my lunch at home, so I went to the cafeteria during my break. The place was packed. Groups of students sat together, laughing, talking, sharing food. I sat alone at a corner table with my sandwich, staring at the floor, feeling that old ache of loneliness creep in. After a few bites, I couldn't take the noise anymore. I grabbed my tray and went back down into the basement. It was quiet down there, the kind of silence that hums in your ears. Cold concrete walls, the faint buzz of fluorescent lights, a faint draft that always smelled like dust and old books. I sat at my usual desk in the corner and unwrapped my sandwich. I had barely taken the first bite when the classroom door creaked open. I turned my head. He was standing right there in the doorway. He looked maybe 2 years older than me. A messy beard clung to his face, round glasses perched on his nose, and his stomach bulged slightly under a faded hoodie. I froze. I had never seen him before. He didn't say anything. He just walked straight into the room and sat down, right beside me. Think about that. The classroom was completely empty. Dozens of desks, rows and rows of open seats. And out of all of them, he chose the chair directly next to mine. My chest tightened. My brain screamed, "Why here? Why next to me?" But I didn't say anything. I kept chewing, pretending to focus on my phone. From the corner of my eye, I could feel it. He was staring at me. The sandwich turned to ash in my mouth. I wrapped it up, shoved it in my bag, and stood up quickly. My only thought was, get out. Get out right now. By the time I stepped outside, it was already dark. A cold wind rushed past, carrying the smell of wet leaves. I walked quickly across campus and found a quiet bench near a small parking lot, hidden between two clusters of trees. The only light came from a single lamppost, buzzing faintly overhead. For a moment, I relaxed. I thought maybe I had imagined the tension. And then, I heard it. The sound of leaves crunching. I lifted my eyes slowly. There, between two bushes, stood the same guy. He wasn't moving. He wasn't pretending to be busy. He was just standing there, staring at me. My heart dropped into my stomach. I stood up from the bench without even realizing it. He stepped out from the bushes and walked straight toward me. And then, he smiled. Hello. His voice didn't sound right. The words came out exaggerated, like he was practicing lines from a play. Then he started bombarding me with questions. Are you a student here? What's your major? Do you work anywhere? What do you do in your free time? I tried to hide my nerves. I even forced a laugh. Asked him a few questions back, but inside, every nerve was screaming. This isn't normal. He's not normal. After a few minutes, he leaned closer and asked, "Give me your number." I hesitated, but in that moment, I was scared to say no. Maybe it was the way he was watching me. Maybe it was instinct, so I gave it to him. And then, with the same fake smile, he asked, "Where do you live?" My lips went dry. I quickly said the name of my hometown, but he shook his head. "No, I mean your address." Something inside me snapped. I forced a smile and muttered, "I've got to go." And I walked away fast. I didn't go back to class that night. I ran straight to my car, drove home, and locked the door behind me. I threw my bag on the floor, sat at my desk, and tried to bury myself in homework. Anything to shake the feeling. But then I picked up my phone. My hands went cold. There were over 20 messages, all from an unknown number. The first just said, "Hey." Then, "Why didn't you stay?" Then, "I like you." And finally, just the last one that froze my blood. "You have a nice house." The knock at the window. My chest clenched. How? How did he know where I lived? My thoughts raced. Maybe he followed me. Maybe he asked someone. And then, a sound. Knock. It came from the window. The curtains were drawn, but the sound was clear. 3 slow knocks. And then, a voice. His voice. Whispering through the glass. "Open the window." The breaking point. I stumbled backward, nearly tripping over my chair. "Get away! I'm calling the police!" I shouted, my voice cracking. For a moment, silence. Then, hurried footsteps fading into the night. I grabbed my phone, hands shaking, and dialed 911. When the officers arrived, I told them everything. Showed them the messages. They shook their heads. "Since he hasn't made a direct threat, all we can do is log this. If he comes back, call immediately." I felt sick. That wasn't enough. The next morning, my phone buzzed with a campus-wide emergency alert. A young male has been spotted on campus, carrying a knife. All classes are suspended until further notice. Police are searching the grounds. My blood turned cold. I called the police immediately and gave them my report. But after that day, he was never seen again. Not on campus, not in the city, not anywhere. The thought that haunts me. It's been years now. But even today, sometimes, when I sit alone in a classroom or see someone stare a little too long, my chest tightens, and I can't stop asking myself, what if, that night, I had opened the window. What if I hadn't shouted? What if he was already inside my house, waiting? That's my story. The night I came terrifyingly close to losing everything, to a stranger who should never have been that close. It happened back in high school. Our school building itself was old, built in the 1930s, but on the far end of the property stood a smaller separate structure, built in the 1940s. It used to serve as a preschool or daycare for children. Now it was nothing but a rotting shell. Vines crawled up its cracked walls, windows shattered, and the entire structure looked as if one strong wind could push it into the ground. We were always told to stay away from it. Unsafe, the teacher said. But you already know how it goes. The more forbidden something is, the stronger the pull. One Friday, during history class, it was just the four of us. Me, Jared, Michelle, and Christina. The regular teacher was out, replaced by a half-distracted substitute. We sat in the back, whispering nonsense. When Jared leaned in and said, "What if we check out the old schoolhouse tonight?" I laughed, but inside, my stomach tightened. Michelle shook her head immediately. Christina muttered a nervous, "No way." But the more Jared insisted, the more tempting it became. By the end of the period, all of us had agreed. That night the campus was dark and silent. We crept around the back, avoiding the lights near the main parking lot. Our shoes crunched on damp leaves, and cold air whistled through the trees. Somewhere in the distance, a dog barked. When we finally reached the building, it looked even worse up close. Dead vines wrapped the walls. The doorway sagged, sealed with a rusted padlock. The silence around it was suffocating. A chain-link fence surrounded the property. Michelle and Christina climbed first with our help, then Jared. Finally, I pulled myself over. When I landed on the other side and looked at the building again, a wave of unease hit me. The main door was locked. Every window was boarded up with rotting planks. At last, Jared found a loose one. He kicked it in. The glass behind it shattered with a deafening crack. The sound echoed through the night, too loud, too dangerous. We boosted the girls through first, then Jared. When I tried to crawl in, my hand scraped against broken glass, slicing my skin. Blood trickled down, but the adrenaline made me ignore it. The moment I slipped inside, a stench of mold and dust swallowed me whole. The room was cold, suffocating. Torn papers and toppled chairs covered the floor. On the walls, scraps of faded children's drawings still clung, their colors long gone. I straightened up. My heart skipped a beat. The others were nowhere to be seen. Searching. "Jared?" I called. No answer. I stepped into the hallway. It stretched long and narrow, doors on both sides yawning open into empty classrooms. My footsteps echoed as I checked each one. Broken desks, cobwebs, peeling paint. Nothing else. Then I spotted him. Jared. He was standing in the corner of one room, staring out the window. Relieved, I said sharply, "Dude, why the hell did you leave me back there?" Slowly, he turned his head toward me. The light was too dim to see his face clearly. He didn't speak. He didn't even blink. Just looked. A chill climbed my spine. I turned away and shouted for the others. From down the hall, I heard rattling, followed by a loud bang. I hurried to the farthest classroom and peeked in, just as something lunged out with a scream. My heart nearly exploded. It was Jared. Behind him, Michelle and Christina burst into hysterical laughter. "We scared the hell out of you, didn't we?" Michelle laughed. I swore under my breath, pushing Jared away. My chest still hammered from the shock. And then, it hit me. If Jared was here, laughing in front of me, then who had I just seen earlier? The one standing silent in the other room? My voice cracked as I said, "Listen. There's someone else in here. I saw him. In that room." At first, they giggled, but when I didn't laugh with them, their smiles faded. Together we crept back to the room. It was empty. I stepped inside, checking the corner where he'd stood. Nothing. And then Christina gasped. Her finger trembled as she pointed at the doorway. We all turned. Through the slim crack between the door and its frame, a face pressed against it. White. Still. Eyes wide open, unblinking. Lips curled tight against the teeth. Shell screamed. Jared shouted, "Run!" We bolted down the hallway, tripping over chairs, splintering wood under our shoes. The air felt heavier, thicker, as if the whole building wanted to hold us in. We reached the broken window. The girls scrambled out first, Jared right after. I was last. As I crouched, ready to slide through, one horrifying thought struck me. What if that thing grabs my ankle? I yanked myself out, heart pounding. No one touched me. But even now, I swear I felt breath against my leg. We didn't stop until we climbed over the fence and ran all the way to Christina's house. None of us spoke a word. We never went back to that building. When rumors spread around school, some said a homeless man lived there. Others swore it was the ghost of a dead teacher or a child who never left. But here's what haunts me still. How did he get in? The door was locked, the windows all sealed, except the one we broke. So how was he already inside? That night is years behind me. But whenever I see an abandoned building, it comes rushing back. That pale, silent face, watching us from the crack of the door.